Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something really exciting in the world of AI, how it's moving from just thinking to actually doing. AI, especially the big models like ChatGPT and Claude, they've become incredibly good thinkers, right? They can draft that perfect email, map out a whole business plan, even spot bugs in code. It's like having a brilliant consultant on tap. But here's the snag, the big disconnect, what some people call the last mile problem, that AI. It writes the email, but it can't hit send. It analyzes sales data, sure, but it can't actually go into your CRM and pull it. It's a thinker, a planner, but it's stuck in a kind of digital sandbox. It can't really interact with all the tools we use every day.
Exactly. That limitation has historically kept AI, even the really advanced stuff, in the role of an advisor, a very smart advisor, but still just advising. There were early attempts, to bridge this gap. People started connecting these language models to external tools using APIs, application programming interfaces. That was a key step, letting AI do things like search the web. But trying to scale that, it quickly ran into some serious, almost crippling complexity.
Right, and that's where today's topic comes in and why it's so interesting. We're doing a deep dive into a new standard that aims to fix this really elegantly and at scale. It's called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Our mission today is to figure out how MCP represents this huge leap, moving us from just talking to AI to having AI actually automate complex tasks for us. And crucially, what does this mean for you? So to really get why MCP is such a big deal, maybe we should start with the problem it solves. What was that first idea for getting LLMs to use tools? You mentioned APIs.
Yeah, the initial thought seemed pretty straightforward. If the AI needs to, say, check your calendar or look up a customer in Salesforce, just hook it up to the Google Calendar API or the Salesforce API.
Yeah.
Simple, right? Well, no, that idea just completely shattered when people tried to do it at scale. The fundamental issue is there's no universal language for APIs out there in the digital world. Every single service, every app speaks its own slightly different dialect.
Okay, so it's not like USB where everything just plugs in.
Not at all. It's more like needing a unique adapter and maybe even a voltage converter for every single device you own. This lack of standardization created a huge mess. You had things like inconsistent authentication. One tool needs an API key. Another uses OAuth 2.0, which is that whole multi-step secure login dance. A third wants a bearer token. So developers had to build custom logic for every single authentication method.
Wow, okay.
Then there were divergent data structures. What HubSpot calls a user, and the information it includes looks totally different from what Zendesk calls a user. So you're manually mapping fields, translating data back and forth. It's tedious. And don't forget varying error handling and rate limits. How one API tells you something went wrong or how often you're allowed to call it is unique. More custom logic for every single endpoint.
That sounds brittle.
Extremely. It became a maintenance nightmare. Imagine Notion updates its API, which happens all the time. Poof, your custom integration breaks. Multiply that by dozens, maybe hundreds of tools. You end up with a system that's incredibly fragile, super expensive to maintain, and just doesn't scale.
So it really is like that brilliant CEO needing a personal translator for every single department head. Massively inefficient. I mean, I've felt that pain just trying to get two regular software tools to sync properly. It's clear something had to change. A universal standard was desperately needed.
Absolutely. The friction was just becoming unbearable.
Which brings us neatly to the Model Context Protocol, MCP. This is positioned as the universal standard, right? A real leap forward.
It absolutely is. Anthropic introduced MCP in late 2024, and crucially, they released it as an open standard. Its whole purpose is to provide one single standardized way for AI models to, first, discover what tools are available, second, understand how to use them, and third, actually use them.
Okay, so like a universal translator.
That's a good analogy. Or think of it like a universal power adapter for AI. Instead of needing a different plug for every country or every API, you've got one adapter MCP. The AI only needs to learn to speak this one language, the MCP language. And any tool or service like Notion or Asana or whatever, if it wants to be used by the AI, it needs to implement an MCP-compatible server.
Ah, so the responsibility shifts.
Completely, it flips the script.
Okay, let's maybe unpack this a bit more. You mentioned clients and servers. What are the three core components making this MCP ecosystem actually work?
Right. There are basically three key pieces. First, the MCP client. That's the AI application itself, ChatGPT, Claude, maybe a custom agent someone builds. It figures out what you want, decides if a tool is needed, and then makes the request using the MCP protocol. Second, you have the MCP server. This is the part built and run by the tool provider, Notion, Asana, maybe your company's internal database team. Its job is to advertise what capabilities it offers, the tools, the data, the actions the AI is allowed to use, and then actually do those things when the client asks. And the third piece is the MCP protocol itself. That's the rule book. The standardized set of messages for how the client and server talk to each other. It defines how the client asks, hey, what can you do? That's technically a list tools request. And now it says, okay, do this specific thing, which is a call tool request.
Got it. Client asks, server answers and acts. Protocol is the language they both speak.
Exactly. And this leads to that crucial paradigm shift we mentioned. The burden of creating and maintaining the translator, the complex API integration logic, moves away from the AI developer and onto the tool provider. So if Asana wants AI agents to use its platform, Asana is now motivated to build a really good, reliable MCP server. It creates this healthy competition. Service providers want their tools to be easily accessible and powerful for AI because that's the future. They handle their own API complexities behind their MCP server.
That makes so much sense. It distributes the workload and aligns incentives. Okay, so we've seen the chaos of direct APIs, and we've met MCP, the potential solution. What does this actually mean in practice? What are the big game-changing advantages here?
The advantages are pretty profound, actually. First off, you get true model agnosticism. What that means is your tool integrations aren't locked into one specific AI model anymore. You can swap out Claude for Gemini or maybe some new open source model that comes along next year with minimal fuss. You use the best AI for the job, and you avoid getting locked into one vendor's ecosystem.
That's huge for businesses. Think about future-proofing. You're not betting the farm on OpenAI or Anthropic. If a better, cheaper, or more specialized model appears, you just plug it in, assuming it speaks MCP.
Precisely. That flexibility is a massive strategic advantage. Second big win, radical simplicity and scalability. Instead of that tangled mess of point-to-point API connections we talked about, you get a clean hub-and-spoke model. Your AI client learns one protocol MCP, and boom, it can talk to any tool that also speaks MCP. Adding a new tool isn't some multi-week coding nightmare anymore. It's closer to just configuring it. Click, click, done.
Okay, simpler, more scalable. What else?
Third, and this is really interesting for companies, unlocking internal systems. Because MCP is an open standard, businesses can build MCP servers for their own internal, maybe even ancient, proprietary systems.
Wait, so you could have an AI talking to that weird old inventory database in the back office that nobody wants to touch?
Potentially, yes. Or interacting with a custom-built HR portal, or pulling diagnostic logs from internal servers, all using the same standard interface that it uses to talk to Google Drive or Slack.
But how robust is that for those really quirky legacy systems? Does the old system need a total rewrite?
Great question. No, usually not. You build the MCP server as a layer on top of the legacy system. Think of it like a modern facade on an old building. The MCP server takes the standard MCP requests from the AI and translates them into whatever weird calls the old system understands. Then it translates the answers back into standard MCP format. It's an abstraction layer.
Clever. Okay, so better internal access. Anything else?
Yes, a really important one. Enhanced security and governance. Because communication flows through this standard protocol and defined servers, you can implement security controls centrally. An administrator can configure the MCP server for, say, the company's financial database to allow an AI read-only access for analysis, but strictly deny it permission to execute trades or modify records. Getting that kind of fine-grained control is much, much harder when you have dozens of ad hoc, one-off API integrations everywhere.
Right, centralized control points. That makes perfect sense. So putting it all together, MCP isn't just about making connections easier. It feels like it fundamentally changes what AI is. It moves it from being a chat partner
to being an autonomous worker, an engine that can actually orchestrate workflows across different digital tools. It takes requests that used to require multiple manual steps and just handles them.
You use the analogy of asking for a recipe versus having a chef cook the meal.
Exactly. And not just cook the meal, but maybe clean up the kitchen and order the groceries for next time, too. It's about handling the whole process.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Give us that overdue project task example again, but walk us through the difference. First, the old way, without MCP.
Right. The old way, you'd prompt your AI. Give me a template for a follow-up email to a team member about an overdue project task.
And you get back? Text? Just the template. You still have to find the overdue tasks, find the email address, copy-paste, tweak the email, save it as a draft. All manual.
Precisely. Now, the new way, with MCP-enabled tools, your prompt could be much more ambitious. Review my Q4 product launch project in Asana. Find all tasks overdue by more than 2 business days. For each one, get the assigned person's email from our Google Workspace directory. Then, draft a polite but firm follow-up email mentioning the task name and due date. Save all these drafts in my Gmail drafts folder so I can review them.
Okay, that's a much bigger ask. How does the AI actually pull that off behind the scenes?
It's an orchestrated sequence. The AI, the MCP client, first sends a request to the Asana MCP server, lists tasks in Project X, filter by overdue status. The Asana server does that, sends the list back, the AI processes it. Then for each overdue task, it sends a request to the Google Workspace MCP server, find email for user Y. Google Workspace server responds. Then the AI connects to the Gmail MCP server, create a new draft email with this subject, this body to this recipient. It does this for each overdue task. Finally, it might send you a message back saying, okay, I've drafted those 3 follow-up emails. They're in your drafts folder. All the connections, data lookups, and actions are handled via MCP.
That is genuinely powerful. It's taking maybe, 15, 20 minutes of annoying admin work and just doing it. What other kinds of complex, multi-step things become possible?
Oh, the possibilities really open up. Think about financial analysis and reporting. You could say, access QuickBooks via its MCP server, pull last quarter's P&L. Now, use the AlphaVantage MCP server to get the stock performance for our top 3 competitors over the same period. Combine this, make some charts comparing our P&L to their stock trends, and save it as a report called Q2 Competitive Analysis.Docs in our Google Drive Executive Reports folder.
Wow. QuickBooks, a stock data service, Google Drive,
Yeah.
all working together from one request.
Exactly. Or consider automated customer support triage. Imagine this running constantly. Monitor our intercom inbox. If a new ticket comes in with keywords like refund request or billing error, automatically do this. 1, create a high priority ticket in Jira under the Effion billing project. 2, assign it to the finance team. 3, post a Slack message and hashtag urgent support alerts with the customer name and a link to the new Jira ticket.
So it's proactively monitoring and taking multi-step actions based on triggers. That's way beyond just responding to a prompt.
It's a fundamental shift. You state the high-level goal, the desired outcome, and the AI, armed with MCP connectors, figures out and executes the sequence of digital tasks across different platforms to get it done. You're managing outcomes, not individual clicks.
Okay, I think people listening are probably getting excited about this. So how can you, the listener, actually start using this? Is it just for developers, or can regular users get involved?
That's the great thing about a growing ecosystem. There are entry points for everyone. For most users, let's call them no-coders, you're not building anything. You're just connecting existing pieces. The absolute easiest way in is through native built-in connectors. AI platforms like ChatGPT and especially Claude are rapidly adding MCP support for common apps right into their interface. You might see options to connect Google Drive, GitHub, Slack. Claude's been particularly active here with really capable connectors for Gmail reading, drafting, sending, and even things like Claude for Mac or Windows, which lets the AI interact with your local computer files and apps. Those native ones are usually the simplest and safest place to start.
So look inside your AI tool first for built-in connections. What if the tool you need isn't built in yet?
Then you look for official third-party MCP servers. Major SaaS companies think Notion, Microsoft 365, Salesforce are increasingly building and offering their own official MCP servers. You can usually find lists of these on places like the official MCP GitHub repository. Setting them up is often pretty straightforward for a power user. Typically, you go to the service like Notion, generate a special API key or token, then you go into your AI tool settings, find the spot for MCP connections, paste in that key and maybe a server address, and restart. It's usually manageable without coding.
Okay, official servers from the companies themselves. Are there other options?
Yes, there are community connectors. Because MCP is open source, the community is building connectors for all sorts of niche tools. You might find these on websites dedicated to MCP, like mcp.sos is one I've seen. But a really important word of caution here. While many community connectors are fantastic, built by talented developers, some might be buggy or might stop being updated, or in the worst case, could even be malicious, designed to steal your data or credentials.
Right, like browser extensions or apps from unknown sources. Use with care.
Exactly. Use community connectors for less critical tasks first. Test them out. And definitely think twice before giving one access to highly sensitive data like your email or financial accounts. Stick to official or native connectors for the really important stuff if you can.
Good advice. Okay, so that covers users. What about developers who want to build with this?
For developers, MCP is incredibly powerful. You can build those private MCP servers we talked about, giving your AI applications secure access to your company's unique internal tools and data. Imagine an AI interface for your custom CRM or inventory system. The MCP standard itself is well documented, and there are official libraries available for popular languages like Python, TypeScript, Java, making it easier to get started. There are also great learning resources popping up, like courses from deeplearning.AI specifically on building these kinds of rich context AI apps with Anthropic's tools. When you actually go to build an MCP server, there are generally two ways to approach it. You can do a low-level implementation, basically coding directly against the MCP protocol specifications. This gives you maximum control but requires a deeper understanding of the protocol details. Or you can use high-level frameworks. Libraries like FastMCP for Python or EasyMCP for TypeScript abstract away a lot of the protocol complexity. You can often just define your tools as regular functions in your code, add some decorators, and the framework handles the MCP communication layer for you. Much faster development.
So options for both deep control and rapid development. It sounds like the ecosystem is really starting to mature. We should acknowledge, though, MCP is still pretty new, right? It's not perfect yet.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a young standard. Like any emerging tech, it has its rough edges. Some connectors might still be a bit buggy or limited in what they can do. Setting up a local development environment can sometimes be fiddly. And maybe most importantly, the security implications of giving AI autonomous agency to act on your behalf across multiple systems. Well, those are profound. We need really robust security models, granular permissions, clear audit trails. It's all still evolving and requires very careful thought.
Definitely something to keep a close eye on.
But even with those growing pains, the direction seems pretty clear. MCP, or something very much like it, looks set to become as fundamental to the AI stack as, say, REST APIs became for the web. It's that missing link, that standardized way for intelligence to actually translate into action in the digital world.
So, for you listening, whether you're using AI every day at work, or you're a developer building AI apps, or a business leader thinking about strategy, now really is the time to start exploring. See what MCP connectors are available for the tools you rely on. Getting familiar with this, maybe even contributing back if you're a developer, feels less like an option and more like a strategic necessity for the future.
Couldn't agree more. The era of the AI just being a standalone chatbot in a window, that's ending. The age of the integrated, automated AI powerhouse that works across your digital landscape, that's really just beginning.
So here's something to think about. Looking at your own work, your own daily digital tasks. What complex, multi-step process, something tedious or time-consuming today, could you imagine an AI orchestrating for you using this kind of technology? What could you achieve if that time was freed up?